So now I'd like to move into the how to plan with standards. One of the challenges many media specialists face is how to teach the information literacy standards as an integrated part of what students are doing in the classroom. This image is a mind map that I created for one of the professional development sessions I presented for MCPS Media Special. It is another one of the documents that I have provided for you to look at. So if you would like to pause this presentation now and take a few minutes to look at the mind map. The mind map presents 4 questions to help library media specialists guide their thinking when they sit and collaborate with grade level teachers. The planning focuses on asking questions about the standards, about what students already know, and about what you want the students to learn next. This next image is also a document that I've provided that you can take a few minutes and read. It is also a list of questions that help guide teachers to have those collaborative conversations when planning for instruction. It's divided into 3 sections: identifying the learning goal, which is standards based, determining acceptable evidence. Determining acceptable evidence is also based on the standards. And then the last thing that actually gets discussed in a planning session is actually planning the learning experience. What are you going to ask students to do? What are you going to engage students in the learning process? In the MCPS elementary curriculum in grades 3 through 5, we have what we call extended writing inquiries or research projects in every marking period. These extended writing projects relate to a content area. If you recall some of the characteristics of a college and career ready student, it's being able to research and understand nonfiction in content areas. This was one of the reasons why we have our extended writing projects content-based. These extended writing inquiries are intended to be collaboratively taught between the grade level teacher and the library media specialist. They need to plan together to determine which indicators will be taught by the media specialist, which will be taught by the classroom teacher, which might be co-taught. When planning together, the teachers could use the Writing and Information Literacy Standards crosswalk to see those connections and determine who's going to teach which standards. This image is a screenshot of what we call a collaborative planning document. It is one of the documents that you have been provided, so you can pause the presentation now and take a few minutes to read through this document. It explains the inquiry and it explains some of the decisions that the teachers need to make in order to have the students engaged in this extensive research in order to write. This last document that I would like to share with you is a sample learning task that goes with the conflict, compromise, and change extended writing inquiry that you just looked at. A sample learning task gets down to the lowest level of the how. It is the student learning experience. The sample learning tasks are written to what the student should be doing. Sample learning tasks suggest an instructional sequence that teachers may follow when teaching a specific indicator. The sample learning tasks have multiple questions that teachers may ask students to assess students' understanding of the standards and indicators. The bold text is what we call the header. If you remember back from, we were talking about the components. There's the header, and then at the very end of the sample learning task is the check for student understanding. Both the header and student check for understanding are based on the standard. Looking at the right-hand column on this document, you will notice how the information in terms of enduring understanding, essential questions, indicators, and objectives are also listed. So when a teacher reads the sample learning task, they also know what indicator this sample learning task is addressing. In this presentation, we have looked at what is a standard. We looked at why we use standards. We've looked at the national standards and the state standards. This is just an introduction to standards. Understanding standards and how to use them in your teaching practice will be what makes your career interesting. You never stop studying the standards. You never stop trying to figure out how to engage students in learning the standards. I've given you a very brief look into how MCPS developed a standards-based curriculum, how we've taken the Common Core State Standards in Writing and the Maryland State Standards in Information Literacy and created a curriculum which we hope will create students who are able to engage in the research process and learn how to effectively communicate their ideas.